skill set of city council serving the public and the community in the future is very, very important. And then we get into who is not allowed to serve, who actually can serve, who can walk away from their family, their children's expenses, their car expenses, their mortgage expenses, all of those things that are parts of everyday life in order to, as I'd like to, as was said during the meeting, volunteer. So I heard many people outspoken yesterday, but other than Mr. Martin, I'm not sure anyone else in the meeting. There were 20 divided by 94,000 is a relatively small percentage. At the prior meeting, there may have been another 20, so we doubled the percentage, and we're still 3 zeros until we get to a percentage of the total population of Palm Coast. So the question becomes, who can we actually get to step up to serve for the future? Who will bring us the skills that will allow us to smartly grow and smartly develop the future of Palm Coast? We have
and I get that, Mayor. I understand that, and I apologize. I do. Yeah. I think everybody kind of understands what you're saying about, if you offer them more money, you'll get more candidates, a better pool of candidates. I get that. So that issue, you've definitely answered that question. But what about the part with the way that you approached it, bringing it up at the end of the meeting instead of putting it on the agenda?
So let me answer that question directly. So every city council workshop and every city council meeting is publicly noticed. An agenda is published in advance the Thursday before each Tuesday meeting. You'll notice every agenda follows the same format. It's been that way since the city was first incorporated. The agenda calls for city council member comments at the end of the meeting. That never changes. So I subscribe and I follow the agenda. And that is the place where I put forward my comments to the rest of City Council, because remember, we must always operate in sunshine according to Florida law. So that would be the appropriate section of the agenda.
Mike?
Well, sorry to criticize you, Mayor Alfin, but I think you really handle this very poorly, because this is the first that I've heard about why you introduced this at this time of the year. I think that would have gone a long way to helping people understand why this now. But I really think this is an issue that should have been raised in a workshop, and it wasn't. Because I think that there needs to be an open and full discussion between yourself and the rest of the council members and the public, and that cannot happen in a business meeting. Because in a business meeting, you have an unlimited time to speak. We only have 3 minutes each, and we cannot get back up and speak on the same subject. So if we say something, if you choose to respond to us at the end of the public comment period, we cannot respond to your responses. And I think this would have been gone down much easier, much better if you had put us in a workshop and it had been on the agenda, everybody would have known to show up who cared about it. And I agree that the vast majority of people didn't show up. Whether that means they're not interested or whether that means they don't know about it, I am not sure. I can tell you that I have talked to a number of people who hadn't heard about it. They had no idea that there was a raise issue going on at all. And I think that I would suggest in the future that when you are going to do something like this that you can assume is going to be a contentious issue, I would ask you, for your sakes and our sakes, to bring this up in a workshop and perhaps relax the rules in the workshop, since nothing can be voted on. And perhaps instead of a 3-minute comment period, let us have maybe a 5-minute comment period, or let us have the opportunity to respond back so we can actually have a dialogue, because you can't have a dialogue in a business meeting.
Mayor?
So, Mike, I appreciate the comment, and it's certainly something that I'll tell you what, I will address with City Council at our next workshop meeting. But if I may, here's something I do believe that you and I can be very well aligned on at the moment, because I do appreciate your comments, is that this issue has probably attracted the interest and the engagement of more residents in the city of Palm Coast than any issue in recent memory. We have the opportunity to get a lot more people involved, especially with an interest in the upcoming election cycle. And I think you and I both agree whether we're on the same side of an issue or not, the more people that get involved in the process, the better off we are as a city. I'm sure that we can agree on that concept.
Oh, absolutely. You're 100% right. And I really do deplore people who attack you personally and, make comments about, how your mother raised you. I mean, you are the mayor, and we owe you respect because the position demands respect. And I don't believe that you're evil or that, you have some kind of hidden agenda. So I want to apologize for people that I think crossed the line because they disagree with what you've done. But again, I think that your approach kind of precipitated that kind of response because this came out of nowhere and nobody knew about it. And when you when you show up to a business meeting, you've only got 3 minutes and you can't respond further. So it makes it really hard for people to try to respond back and answer.
And they feel disrespected as well. I think that's what a lot of it was.
Yeah, and well said. And I guess the comment back, I just want to say two things. Is one, so obviously over all these years, we've really never addressed this issue. So it is a first time. In other words, it's certainly not something that gets discussed regularly. So certainly in the future, there could be a process or procedure like Mike talks about, which might go a long way to easing some of the emotional response to a change in a comfort zone that had been existing for a long time. But the other thing that, and Mike, I appreciate your comments about the responsibilities of being mayor, but right back at you, I want to thank you for taking care of the mosquitoes and the all of the work that you and your elected board do as well, because together I think we can make a big difference here in the city of Palm Coast.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And, you're 100% right. We need more engagement. I mean,
yeah, I think you guys are both right. I love the way that you handled it, and I think it is about respect and being heard. And Mike, I think you're exactly right. I think if the people of Palm Coast felt that they were being listened to, that their response wouldn't have been so emotional. So yeah, Mayor, I applaud you for listening to what Mike's saying and then hopefully bringing that up with the council. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I wish you both the best of luck. Keep us posted if there's any more drama, as I know Palm Coast City Council meetings are very exciting. So, Mayor Alfin,
thank you both. Have a lovely day.
You as well.
You too, Mayor.
We are going to take a quick break. We will be back in just a moment. Trey Johnson again talking to you about your CBD store and the benefits. I told you it's been great for me. I'm just running up and down and jumping around Daytona Beach, but it's also great for my dog. Will gave me some supplements for Macy, little chewies. I give them to her twice a day, and this girl is just leaping and bounding like I have not seen her do in years. If your dog's suffering from aches and pains, you might want to give these all-natural, fast-acting CBD products a try. Your CBD store is right on Seabreeze Ave in Daytona Beach.
A semi-truck pulled in front of me.
A car slammed into me and my kids.
My husband was killed by another driver.
The insurance company made a small offer.
Not enough to pay for my medical bills.
All of these clients came to Ruin Ziffer when they were suffering, and we were able to help all of them.
Ruin Ziffer got me 4 times the original offer.
20 times the offer.
Enough to get my life back.
I put my trust in Ruin Ziffer.
I put my trust in Ruin Ziffer.
I'm so glad I put my trust in Rue and Zifra.
License CAC 029376.
You see us on the road, we're total comfort.
Get your new Carrier Infinity heating and AC system today. Rent to own or get up to 60 months flexible financing. Total Comfort, your local factory authorized Carrier dealer serving all of Volusia and Flagler counties. Turn to the experts, Total Comfort and Carrier. Online at TotalComfortFL.com.
We're total comfort. The guys with the yellow trucks.
Now's the time to pre-register for the Jeep Beach Week 5K and Fun Run. Enjoy the sounds of the surf, sun on your face, and sand at your feet during the Sunday morning 5K and Fun Run, Sunday, April 24th at Landshark Bar and Grill, Beachside. All finishers get a beautiful custom medal. Visit runvolusia.com now to save money by pre-registering. It'll be an exciting race presented by Ruin Zifra in your community and on your side. A portion of the Jeep Beach Week 5K and Fun Run proceeds benefit the Jeep Beach Week Foundation and their financial support of local charities. Clay Travis and Buck Sexton here weekdays at noon. WNDB.
Good day, Daytona. Welcome back. So now it is time for our top stories of the day. And one of the big ones is a guy is facing a charge for rape and a separate charge for murder, both in, they're different cases. One of those trials is actually underway right now in Flagler County.
When Quentel Moultrie was arrested for his involvement in an R-section shooting that led to the death of another man, he was out on bond in regards to a sexual battery investigation that began in 2019. Now, the trial for his sexual battery case is in progress. The case stems from an incident that happened at a party Moultrie was attending. After the party, Moultrie snuck back into the home and sexually battered his 16-year-old victim. Investigators say that he originally denied the allegation, saying he never had any sexual contact with the victim. However, DNA evidence obtained during the investigation said otherwise. Moultrie is also charged in a botched home invasion that led to the death of Zaire Roberts. He and Moultrie were attempting to rob a drug dealer when he opened fire and shot at both of them, killing Roberts. His trial for that charge begins in May. With WNDB, I'm Sean Mooney.
So Daytona Beach Police and Volusia County Sheriff's Office both working really hard so that the week of it's actually an unsanctioned event that's happening right now, and it will take place for the rest of the week. They're trying to make sure it does not wreak havoc like the Daytona Truck Meet did. So they said that they are working hard, taking steps to make sure that we do not have a repeat of last summer.
Pop-up events have long been called one of the biggest headaches for law enforcement in Volusia County. So with Orange Crush Festival coming up, the Daytona Beach Police Department is making sure they're ready ahead of time. Daytona Beach's Deputy Police Chief Jennifer Whittet said there will be extra police presence at the event to make sure things don't get out of hand as previous pop-ups have. Volusia Sheriff Mike Chitwood asked people on social media to stop sharing the event altogether. The abilities of law enforcement to curtail rowdiness is still limited as police statewide await the future of a bill which would give them the authority to impose enhanced fines for violations outside designated event zones. With WNDB, I'm Chris Gollin.
Tamara Lynn Sitch, the former WWE wrestler, she is now being sued because of a deadly crash that she was involved in Ormond Beach.
Court documents obtained by News Daytona Beach show that the daughter of Julian Lassiter, who was killed on March 25th in Ormond Beach, filed the case against Sitch. The case also names her boyfriend, James Penty, as an additional defendant in the case. It accuses Sitch of negligence in the death of Lassiter and Penty of vicarious liability since he rented the car she was driving at the time. Ormond Beach police are currently investigating to see whether or not Sitch was under the influence at the time. This is also not Sitch's first interaction with local law enforcement in the past year. In just December alone, the Daytona Beach Police Department had 3 separate interactions with Sitch, and 2 of those incidents occurred back-to-back with one another.
Oh, it's you again.
That's a Daytona Beach police officer recognizing Sitch when officers were called to the Hilton Hotel back in December. They had brought her to the hospital just days before so she could sober up. In that case, officers were called to the Hard Rock to escort an intoxicated woman after she refused to leave her hotel room during checkout. This time, she called the police because she thought she found meth in her boyfriend's pocket. She also told officers that she took one of his Xanaxes because she left hers at home. Officers tried to offer some help and told her to make better decisions.
Get off the alcohol and stop hanging out with them and stop taking other people's Xanax because it's putting you in this position, right? Yeah. Bad choices.
The officer asked if she recognized them, to which she said she doesn't. The substance was submitted into evidence, but it was never made clear what it actually was. As of right now, it seems that Sitch and Penty have not responded to the case. She also remains uncharged in the fatal accident in Ormond Beach as police wait on toxicology results. With WNDB, I'm Sean Mooney.
Now, Sitch also was arrested in December. Let's see. She was arrested in November, December, January, went to court for a prior arrest in February and March, and by the way, had just gotten out of prison in 21, I believe in like November of 2021, and then was arrested again. So this woman has a track record of DUI arrests, more than 10 of them. And we will definitely keep you posted on this status if she ever does get arrested for drunk driving again, once the toxicology reports come back. Now, I believe it's been about a month that they've been out, and it's probably going to be 2 to 4 weeks more before the FDLE gives the results back from that toxicology test. We will definitely, again, let you know the results as soon as we find out what they are. So it's now Ron DeSantis versus Disney. This is as Florida lawmakers could eliminate a decades-old governing district that was set up exclusively for Disney World.
Governor DeSantis announcing that the legislature will take up the issue this week during a special legislative session on redistricting, a bill targeting the Reedy Creek Improvement District filed by Republican State Rep Randy Fine.
Their behavior has been atrocious, frankly, as a guest in the state of Florida. And so when you kick the hornet's nest, sometimes issues pop up, and this is one.
Democratic Rep Geraldine Thompson says the bill is about revenge.
Because they dared to speak up against the Don't Say Gay bill, this is retribution. The governor is a bully.
Lawmakers will also consider a proposal that would strip Disney of an exemption from a 2021 law that sought to crack down on social media companies. Will Altoff, Miami.
Now, lawmakers also heading back to Tallahassee next month. This is for a special session on property insurance, not because of the efforts of one lawmaker. Instead, it is the efforts of the governor. So for weeks, Senator Jeff Brandes, he's out of St. Petersburg. He has been trying to get lawmakers to support his push for another special session to deal with the state's property insurance crisis. It's a crisis that he actually is dealing with on a personal level as well. But just before his poll failed to get enough support, Governor DeSantis announced a special session slated for May. Lawmakers tried to address the current property insurance crisis in the state, but they failed to do so before the end of 2022 legislative session, which was in mid-March. For much of that session, House and Senate members were at odds about how to address this problem. Other high-profile proposals, such as a plan to put additional requirements on condo buildings after the deadly Champlain Towers South collapse, that also failed to make it through the session. DeSantis said that that can be one of the other issues that lawmakers are tackling when they come back in May. But for now, they are going to be discussing redistricting in that special session. It is the special redistricting session, because they're dealing with a couple of different topics. So they're begun the special session to pass a congressional redistricting plan that was submitted by Governor DeSantis, and now the Republican House Speaker, Chris Sprowls, he says that he's going to give it the thumbs up.
I've looked at, are there articulable legal reasons why we could say yes to this map, that this meets the standard? And I've looked at it, and I'm going to vote for it because I think it does.
The DeSantis plan could increase the number of Republicans in Florida's congressional delegation from 16 to 20, but that's not the only reason that people are criticizing this plan, because the first reason is that a governor doesn't draw congressional lines. Typically, it is up to the House and the Senate, but instead the House and the Senate, as you heard, defaulted to him, are letting him draw the lines. But a lot of people are saying that this is because he wants to break up that 5th congressional district, which is a predominantly African-American district, and they're accusing him of playing some racial games with that. But of course, the supporters say he's not doing that at all, and they say that those lines were drawn using gerrymandering, which is illegal. Probably governor's going to get the win on this one. So as we talk about more election stuff, there is a candidate for Volusia County Council that has dropped out of the race because of health concerns.
In a Facebook post published on Saturday, Paul Zimmerman, once a candidate for the District 2 seat on the Volusia County Council, announced he was withdrawing from the race due to health concerns. Zimmerman, president of the Sons of the Beach organization, is the second candidate to drop out of the District 2 race. Current Port Orange City Councilman Chase Tremont had plans to run for District 2, but instead placed his sights on a seat in Tallahassee instead. Now fighting for that seat is Matt Reinhardt, the former warden of the Volusia County Division of Corrections, and Danny Fuqua, a retired U.S. Army veteran and co-pastor of Word and Praise Family Church in Daytona Beach. Current District 2 Representative Billy Wheeler announced she would not seek re-election for the seat. Fuqua faced off against Wheeler once before in 2020 for the same spot and lost. With WNDB, I'm Sean Mooney.
Your time right now is 9:38. When we come back, we are going to talk to a woman who gave us a great idea for fixing the affordable housing crisis. This could be something that could work maybe even on a national level. So we're going to hear that story, and we're also going to talk to someone about it is sea turtle nesting season. So we're going to talk all about the sea turtles, what you need to watch out for, how you can help in their quest to get more turtles. We'll be right back.
License CAC 029376.
You see us on the road, we're total comfort.
Get your new Carrier Infinity heating and AC system today. Rent to own or get up to 60 months flexible financing. Total Comfort, your local factory authorized Carrier dealer serving all of Volusia and Flagler counties. Turn to the experts, Total Comfort and Carrier. Online at TotalComfortFL.com.
We're total comfort. The guys with the yellow trucks.
Did you know there's a Your CBD store location in Daytona Beach? And it's amazing. They carry SunMed brand hemp products, USDA organic, third-party tested, and the biggest brand in the United States, like SunMed CBN blend for sleep or SunMed's new THCV blend product, Trim. Come feel better the natural way with SunMed products, including delicious and relaxing ice-cold THC gummies. Stop in today at Your CBD store at 203 Seabreeze Boulevard in Daytona Beach.
The Ormond Beach Celtic Festival returns to Rockefeller Gardens for the 11th year of music, food, and fun. Enjoy 2 parks and 5 music stages with 24 bands, including headliners 7 Nations performing on both nights. You'll enjoy the Highland Games, authentic Celtic food and beer, the annual Dog Parade, and so much more. Don't miss it, the 11th annual Ormond Beach Celtic Festival, April 23rd and 24th. Get tickets and a schedule of events online at OrmondBeachCelticFestival.com. That's OrmondBeachCelticFestival.com.
Parents, camp is back at First Baptist Daytona. Every parent wants their kids to have a summer they'll never forget. Mark your calendars for June 13th through the 17th. A remarkable day camp experience is coming to our community for completed K through 8th graders. Connect Camps is an affordable 1-week day camp filled with nonstop fun and engaging activities. Kids will get to attend 8 different activities during their week of camp. Save your spot today. They fill up quick. Go to connectcamps.com. That's connectcamps.com.
Central Florida's conservative voice, WNDB.
Good day, Daytona. 9:41 is your time. So before we went left for break, I was telling you that we all know this. We are dealing with a affordable housing crisis across the nation. And, you know, there's lots of committees and meetings and organizations that keep having these meetings and organizations and more meetings about affordable housing, but it doesn't seem like anything's getting resolved. So last week, Mary called into the station when we did one of our stories, and she was telling me about a situation that she's gone through. She shared her story of how she helped one family with their affordable housing crisis, even though she was struggling financially herself.
When Mary purchased her home in 2004, home prices were already on the way up. She told us that she essentially bought her home out of fear. She had trouble keeping her bills paid, so she got a roommate.
So going through this struggle myself, I know what it means to have affordable or non-affordable housing.
Fast forward to now, and she finds a family in a terrible predicament. She told us that she was leaving church one day when she met a young homeless family with 2 children. She found them outside as they were charging their phones.
I felt called to help because I found out that they were living in the woods, and it was a couple with their 2 young children.
She tried to help get the family established in a mobile home park, but they ended up being rejected because the father has a felony charge and they have bad credit. Thankfully, though, someone offered to sell them a house, but that still leaves the question of how they can pay for it. Obviously, getting a roommate can help with bills, but what are you supposed to do if you have children to take care of already?
The family I'm helping has 2 parents and 2 children. That's 4 people already. So you're squeezed in a house already, you know, with 4 people.
If anything, the situation highlights the need for true affordable housing in the area. It's a topic that's been brought up plenty of times at different city commission meetings, with some groups even kickstarting their own projects. That includes one project that will bring a tiny home neighborhood to Daytona Beach in the hopes of offering affordable housing to those in need. With WNDB, I'm Sean Mooney.
So I was looking at the Daytona Beach News Journal, and there is a horrifying story. There is a 10-foot gator that was just walking through the neighborhood, strolling along. He was just trying to get into a nearby lake. But imagine that. If you get a chance, go onto the News Journal online and take a look at that gator. 10 feet long. He's just massive dinosaur, just walking through the neighborhood, deciding he just wants to stroll. You know what? Just like Phil said, that gator wins and I move. There's no way. So Sean Mooney joining us now, chiming in on this story.
Because it always comes back to gators and it always comes back to bats.
Oh, gators and bats terrify me. So what was that? I showed you that bat. What was that called? The giant.
It was
wolf bat.
They're called flying foxes.
Oh my gosh.
But people know them online, call them sky puppies because they're fruit bats and they look like actual sky puppies.
No, they look like a bat. They look like a bat that's the size of a human.
They can get big. Yeah, they can get very big. But, I mean, bats don't bother you. They stay in trees and bat houses. Gators, they just walk across the street to the pond. That's all they want.
Okay.
They're not on a warpath to go after you.
Okay, so let's say this. There's a 4-foot winged creature that just decides it wants to sit down next to you and then get up and walk around and flap its wings. You're telling me you'd say, oh, he's an herbivore. He's not going to bother me. And you wouldn't get scared?
I mean, I'd be creeped out by the sheer size of it, but I'm not scared of him. He's not going to just go off and start biting me and sucking all my blood out. He's not a vampire bat. It's a fruit bat.
Okay, what about the 10-foot gator? You're going to reach down and pet the gator?
No, because why are you going to pet a gator to begin with? Are you going around and petting every reptile that's going across the road, Trey? Are you petting every stray animal you find?
Well, yes, actually. As long as it's not a gator or a bat. All right.
Fair enough.
Thank you very much, Sean. So while we're on the topic of animals, this is a great, now these animals don't scare me. Sea turtles. I love sea turtles. In fact, so when I had first moved here, I was in that triple hurricane. So it was like Charlie, Francis, and Jean, I think it was. Yeah, those were the hurricanes that we got like 3 in a row. And I remember being on the beach covering the hurricane, and I was so worried that all of the wind would be blowing the sand away from the turtles and exposing their nests. And I remember asking a specialist, like one that we've got on the phone right now, asking him, do I need to cover these turtles back up? Like, I don't want all the eggs to get destroyed and these potential babies die. And, they were like, no, you just kind of have to leave them alone. So it is, I say all that to say, it is sea nesting turtle season, sea turtle nesting season. It begins May 1st. And there's a couple of things that you need to know about. So joining me now is Ryan Chabot. He's the manager of Volusia County Sea Turtle Habitat Conservation Plan. And he is going to tell us what we can do and what we can do to help not only sea turtles, but Ryan. Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
Good morning, Trey. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic. So if I remember correctly, the expert told me to kind of just leave those nests alone, don't cover them back up. Would that be the information you would have given me as well?
So the best bet for anyone who happens to see some of eggs scattered on the sand or after a storm or any sort of nest barrier that they think just doesn't look right is to get in touch with FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, and they can let the permitted individuals that deal with those nests go out to take a look, and those individuals can go ahead and recover the nest if needed or otherwise evaluate it. But those are some trained individuals that know kind of the best protocols for dealing with those nests.
Okay. So I know that the season starts May 1st, but you guys have already found 3 leatherback nests?
Yeah, there actually are 4 now. There's one in New Smyrna, and then 3 up in the kind of northern areas up in Ormond Beach and Ormond by the Sea.
Okay, so what does that mean? I don't even know, like, in a nest, how many eggs are typically in? Do you call them litters?
Yeah, so they're clutches of eggs, just like kind of how you would talk about bird eggs sometimes. And so the different species that we primarily have leatherbacks, loggerheads, and green turtles nesting on our Volusia County beaches. And leatherbacks start the earliest. So actually South Florida typically starts getting leatherback nests in February and March. And then we start a little bit later than that. So our first nest was actually laid on April 2nd this year in New Smyrna, and it was our earliest nest that we had on record for our county-managed beaches. So we were all pleasantly surprised and excited.
So about how many eggs are in each nest?
So there's about 100 eggs in each nest, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. And so each female will lay about 100 nests in each nest, and then lay anywhere between 3 to 5 and sometimes even up to 8, depending on the species, nests per year.
Wait a minute. She's going to lay about 100 eggs?
Oh, yeah, and she's going to do that multiple times in a season. She, builds up her energy reserves and then migrates to her nesting beach and lays, hundreds of eggs to kind of hedge her bets against things like storms or predator impacts. And so, hopefully some of those hatchlings can, make it successfully out of their nest and into the water and to adulthood about 15 to 25 years later.
So about how many of those 100 eggs will actually make it into turtles?
So we don't have a great estimate in terms of survival to adulthood, just because, like I said, it's hard to follow a tiny turtle all the way for 15 to 25 years. But our general estimates are between 1 in 1,000 and 1 in 10,000 hatchlings will make it to adulthood. So not the highest of odds, but like I kind of just mentioned, they kind of hedge their bets. So those nesting females are producing hundreds of hatchlings each nesting season in the hopes that, some of those can survive to adulthood and return to kind of that same general nesting area years later to keep on those species and those generations to come.
Okay, so she comes out of the water and she buries her eggs in the sand. And how long do they stay there? Like, there's no male turtle sitting on those eggs, right? They just stay in the sand. You can tell that I am really environmentally challenged.
You're fine.
So she buries those eggs, and then, how long does that whole process take?
Yeah, so that's kind of the limit of her parental care. She picks a good spot and then kind of, covers the eggs and buries them. And then about 2 months later, give or take, those hatchlings will emerge out of the sand. So it takes them about that long, and they'll kind of hatch simultaneously and make their way up to the surface of the sand. And then when they feel the sand kind of above their heads get cooler, which normally indicates nighttime for them, they'll all emerge at once to run that gauntlet down to the water's edge and then swim out for a few days to find their kind of sargassum lines that they'll stay in for probably a year to a couple years.
I'm sorry. They get out of the sand and go back into the water without any parental guidance?
Yeah, so they on a completely natural beach, they would use the reflection of the moonlight off of the surface of the water to find their way out to the water, and they've internalized their the yolk that they had left over, and that gives them a kind of big pulse of energy. So they kind of just swim constantly for 1 to 3 days to kind of make it offshore away from a lot of those shoreline predators. And they use that light, the light from the moon and stars, which is why we always remind folks that coastal lighting can be a big issue for sea turtles, and just to make sure that they're using those long wavelength, shielded, downward directed lights to light their properties, so they can have all the light that they need while still making sure to keep our beaches clean, dark, and flat.
Okay, yeah, because those lights are distracting them, and that's when they sort of that contributes to them getting into harm's way, right?
Yes, and so there's a lot of, especially in the last few years, kind of a surge in, great wildlife-friendly lighting products and lighting protocols that individuals can use to still provide all the light that they need in their properties and along things like roadways without causing kind of spillover of that light into areas that it's not needed, which include that beachscape where those sea turtles need the darkness to be able to find their way.
So as you said, not all of them are going to make it into adulthood, maturity, and sometimes not even the water, it sounds like. So what other things can we do to ensure that these little guys, live as long as they can?
Yeah, so I had just said the mantra a little bit earlier, but didn't explain it. So we normally try to encourage folks, because it's an easy thing to remember, to keep our beaches clean, dark, and flat. And so we've already covered the dark part. Mm-hmm. And so we encourage our residents and visitors to enjoy their day at the beach, go have fun. But if you do things like build sandcastles or, dig holes in the beach, just to make sure that those are knocked down and filled in at the end of the day, so that they don't present obstacles for nesting females and hatchlings. And then to take off also their trash and chairs and tents and grills off of the beach each day, so that that those nesting females and hatchlings have a clean, flat beach that they can use to find their way to the water and to successfully nest, and not kind of have to run around a bunch of obstacles to find their way.
Okay, and then there's some other things that you're asking people not to do as well, like don't use fireworks?
Yes, so fireworks are prohibited on our Volusia County beaches, and they can, distract sea turtles and also cause harm to nests if they're set off too close to those nests.
Okay, wow, okay, and then I made this mistake last weekend. We had a full moon, and last weekend I was on the beach, just kind of out there, just chilling, and I did these exact things that you're saying not to do. Don't use your cell phone to light your way at night. That was one of them. And then the other one was if you see, nesting adult sea stepping on the dunes. It says you're supposed to walk through a certain path, a beach access ramp, because stepping on the dunes, you might unknowingly ruin one of their habitats, right?
Yeah, so we always encourage individuals to use already established dune walkovers or pathways already through the dunes. Those are built specifically, especially dune walkovers, to kind of allow that ingress and egress from and to the beach, while still allowing space under those walkovers for those plants to grow. Those plants are really important for the dune system, both for our wildlife species that live there, but they're also our first kind of line of defense from heavy, winds and rain coming from things like tropical storms and hurricanes. They're well adapted to a beach system, and they're really good at holding sand, and so those native plants are really important for us. And as you mentioned, for flashlights, if folks may find if they walk on the beach at night that their eyes actually adjust really quickly to be able to pick up that lower level of moonlight. But if they do find that they need additional light to light their way, we always encourage folks to use those long wavelengths, so our red and amber flashlights if they do need it, and a lot of those can even be found in things like headlamp settings that you can get from your local big box store, as well as other locations. But those can provide some additional lighting if folks need that. Will still be much less disorienting to sea turtles because they don't see the color red or amber quite as well as they would see like a blue or a white light.
Oh, okay. Do you have any pet turtles at home?
I do not have any pet turtles. They are sometimes notoriously difficult to take care of, our freshwater turtles. But I do enjoy seeing them when I'm out, in our local ponds, and then always the rare chance to see a sea turtle, or even if at our Volusia County Marine Science Center, where they do a great job doing rehab work for some of our stranded and sea turtles that need a little bit more TLC.
Yeah, and I did not know how big some of those turtles can get. They do such an amazing job at the Marine Science Center. Okay, so last question. When I am walking the dogs, there's like a little, I guess it's like a little culvert, a little canal. It's not a retention pond, but the stuff that kind of just collects the runoff water. Right in that area, there's always 3 turtles. It looks like mama, daddy, and baby that are just hanging out, and they kind of plop into the water. What kind of turtles do you think that would be in because they're not very big?
You mean like right off the side of a roadway or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a number of our freshwater turtle species. It would be kind of difficult to say just based on kind of their location, but we have some really interesting, cool local species of both freshwater and kind of more terrestrial turtles. So we have box turtles, 3-striped mud turtles.
Oh my gosh.
Soft-shell turtles. Yeah, we have quite an abundance in Florida, which is really interesting and super cool. A lot of people kind of first think of, how charismatic sea turtles are, but we have some really cool freshwater turtles as well that can live just as long and live very interesting lives just as well as the sea turtles do.
That is so cool. Ryan Chabot, thank you so much for your time and your expertise. I appreciate you.
You're very welcome. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You as well. So nesting season runs through October 31st. During a typical year, 400 to 500 nests are laid in Volusia County. And last year's season, it was the 4th highest nesting season on record. 780 nests were counted. That is so cool. Now, as Ryan was telling you about with the lighting, there is a beach lighting expo that is going to be May 27th, and oceanfront property owners can learn how to light their properties without endangering those nesting sea turtles and hatchlings during a free beach lighting expo. It's 1 to 7. It's Friday, May 27th. In the Daytona Beach Shores Community Center, which is on 3000 Bellamie Drive. So again, if you are looking how to, need to figure out how to get the right lights, you want to make sure that you're doing it the right way, installing them correctly, this Beach Lighting Expo, May 27th, would be for you. That will do it for us. We will see you back here tomorrow at 7.
Thanks for listening to Good Day Daytona, brought to you by your CBD store. To learn how CBD can reduce stress, pain, or even help with weight management, stop by their store on Seabreeze Boulevard today.
Now, even more local news and interviews on Good Day Daytona, weekday mornings 9 till 10 a.m. WNDV Daytona Beach, proud to be locally owned.